Before jumping into the tier list, I want to make a quick update because I realized I didn't give that much info on everything I was doing differently than potentially other people playing Infernum no hit. Along with that, I'd like to give a general overview with some boss problems, but that'll come later. The first big thing I want to touch on is I'm not following any standardized rules. I've seen online while looking for tools to help me, people say stuff like no rod of discord, no DPS over a certain amount, no adrenaline, and I'm not fond of those. I use adrenaline mode a lot. I now have footage, so you'll get to see me fighting the bosses. I use Rod of Discord. I use buffs and as much DPS as I can. I don't care. I have some quality of life mods, but they're not potent to boss fights, more exploration and building of the arenas. And I am playing in journey mode. I'm not using journey mode powers in any way. I'm only using researching, so that way I can quickly swap classes and not have to worry about the more mediocre gameplay that I didn't do this challenge for. I did this challenge for boss fights. I want to do the boss fights, so I'm going to speed up to get to the boss fights and enjoy that as much as I can. With that disclaimer aside, I want to give another wider discussion about a universal problem that affects every boss in Infernum so far. Well, every boss is exaggeration, but you get the point. Is bosses changing phase? A lot of bosses have different phases. You can think of Skeletron with all four hands, whereas Skeletron has only the head. The issue is with many of these fights is when they phase change, there's not really a safety net for players. If you make them change a phase at a bad time in an attack pattern, they're standing next to you, they could dash right into you. Their attacks get wonky and guarantee you lose. And just as an example, Cryogen was awful with this. You would float above me shooting his projectiles, and while revving to shoot the omnidirectional blast, he would phase change and dash right at me, instantly killing me. Nothing I could really do or react to, because that's not normal. It's weird. I have to suddenly play very different and calculate of, okay, I gotta stop doing damage now. Hope I didn't do the DOT. I gotta wait for him to stand still over there. I really think bosses changing phases should not be an insta-lose just because you were doing good with damage. Another complaint I'll have is certain bosses having too few attacks. Just to give an example of this, in the Calamitous clone fight, the brothers phase is set. There's 3 attacks, no more, no less, no variation of those 3 attacks. Now, for the brothers phase, I do think it's more okay, because it's like a mini phase within a wider fight that's completely fine in terms of attacks. Well, at least in terms of this complaint. But certain fights definitely started feeling this way. Like Queen Slime kind of just had 3 attacks that all lasted a while with a phase splitter in the middle. It got to a point where I thought, wow, there's not a lot of variation. The same button presses are dodging these the same way. I really feel like every fight, or not even every fight, every attack a boss has should have 1 or 2 variations, and if not, maybe some element that would make it more unique. Some element of RNG with bullet patterns, maybe homing, or like even how it's targeted at the player. Maybe make it targeted not at the player, making it more dynamic to dodge. And the final complaint is too many unique attacks. This is not in terms of raw attack patterns, but attack diversity within one set attack. To give an example, the Calamitous clone has an attack where they teleport around you shooting like a shotgun spread. This has 3 variations. A normal shotgun spread, a shotgun spread where the bullets take a while to speed up, and one that homes. This is really good. I think this is a great example of an attack that you can dodge universally about the same, but has a bunch of unique diversity in how you can dodge it, depending on where you're standing, which ones they're doing, and there's some subtle differences that gives a unique way to express your skill. Now also with Calamitous Clone, the sun attack, where she holds up the big fireball above her head and shoots out orbs. That has almost 6 variations, all of which can be dodged slightly differently, and if you dodge one different than the other, you die immediately. This feels really unfair, especially when that attack can happen towards the end of the fight. It always happens after the brothers phase, and when that happens, it can kind of feel like bullshit if you get an unlucky combo. There is some harder combos of variations there than others. I really feel like for an attack that comes so late, it shouldn't have so many unique variations, it should only have a set couple. With that, I think we'll jump right into the first boss. So Dread Nautilus is the first fight I took on. It really was. The best way I can put this fight was, it felt like a mini-boss extended. Didn't really feel like a full fleshed out boss. Now you might be thinking, well wait, isn't Dreadnought a mini-boss? Well, no. Infernum makes it a full boss. But I always feel like it did that by just upping its health bar, which is kind of boring. Its attacks were very easy to dodge. I didn't take that much energy to figure them out. I think towards the end, one of its last attacks was kind of difficult to dodge, but it was more about it was hard to figure out what to do than it was to dodge. And I mentioned that they kind of got there by just buffing the HP. While for a mini boss, it definitely had a lot of HP, for a boss, it kind of felt lacking. I also didn't feel a reason to fight the boss. There's a lack of motivation with there's just no purpose. It didn't drop anything. It was very easy to skip the boss and progression wise. There was just no reason to. I can comment that I had to kind of plan around hitting the boss. I found that some original combos of weapons were too inaccurate and kept missing. But after a while, like, I got into the rhythm, got into the flow state. As for actually ranking the boss, I gotta push back my old memory for these pre-hard mode bosses. It's definitely a do I have to. It was not that enjoyable. I think it'd be like right about here, because it just was not that great. As for difficulty, I think it was harder than these guys, but it's like, you wouldn't fight it for more materials. It was just kind of bland. My rhythm got fucked up, yeah. Nice. That wasn't that bad. That was actually, I'd say, pretty easy. The next boss I fought was Queen Slime. Queen Slime was kind of unique. I don't really fight them in base game all that much. I tend to skip Queen Slime, tend to leave it, push it off for future endeavors, but deciding to sit down and fight it, it was a lot cooler than I remember. Getting into the rhythm felt very cool with the jump dodging and certain attacks like cutting it close with the slams. It's kind of hard to comment on it because you kind of had to play it. The knife dance attack I thought was really interesting. The way you can, there's multiple ways to dodge. Like, as I kept playing the fight, I kept figuring out different and unique ways to dodge every attack, going from running away to standing still, getting more confident, jumping up and falling down. These subtle differences really gave a lot to the fight. It made it very enjoyable, and there's one comment for difficulty. That's end phase, or I can't say end phase, but it has a mid health phase change. That was kind of bullcrap to figure out. It kept just teleporting on top of me. I kept trying to run away, but then I'd get cut off with my arena ending, like going downwards. I tried to like jump up and fly away, and it didn't seem to interact. Honestly, my winning attempt, I kind of just got lucky, I think. I don't know. It felt like it was trying to track my momentum, but certain times it just didn't track my momentum and went right to me. I don't know if that was me doing something wrong, but if that wasn't there, this fight would honestly be easier than Deerclops. It would be like really down here, but because that phase change felt so 50-50, so hard, I'm ranking these on the wrong scale. Hold up. No, I'm not. Refight for fun. Never touch Calamity again. Oh, it reset itself. Look at that. Aww. Well, I guess I'm just gonna be verbally explaining how fun it was to fight, because the tier list changed. Okay, well, I'm gonna quickly do an overhaul of this. Hold up, team. I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I just quickly reshuffled the tier list around for difficulty. So ignore the names for right now. This is now difficulty list. I'm kind of disappointing. I can't believe the tier list reset like that. It's a shame. You can double check. You can see I've moved it to here, which is on the easier spectrum. So, gosh, I gotta remember my thought process now. Queen Slime, assuming that middle phase change was different, would be down here. Honestly, it was harder than this guy, but like it would be right here. It's still pretty low, maybe up here. But the middle phase change is just kind of bullcrap. It killed me a bunch. So we're going to put it right here for now. Losing my mind. Been on this fight for 2 hours. Oh, oh, nice. I forgot to record for Cryogen and the next couple bosses. Oops, my bad, team. I don't know, when the boss fights start showing up again, they'll visually appear. I don't remember off the top of my head. Editor me will make sure to put them in. Cryogen was up next, and I don't know. I really felt like they put Cryogen at the wrong phase. Pre-mech, it had so much health, and more health than the mech boss I beat up next, and just did not die. It was very annoying. And also, it got really boring because it like you learned the dodge patterns, but it just had so much health. You just have to wait, wait. I can't have words to really explain what needs to change. I feel like this was a byproduct of its earlier because I remember in the past it used to have like 5 phases. And so I think they're trying to keep those 5 phases in with a health bar for each, but honestly, they want that. Just push it like second mech. We already have 2 bosses pre-mech. We don't need a third. And only 1 boss between the mech fights can get, I can't say boring, but like you could do with a little more padding. The phase change was horrendous in this fight. I know I said it was a universal problem. All these fights kind of have that. This one and one other I'll specifically call out for just being so awful. It would just kill you. You had to make sure you watch your damage. A lot of the patterns were easy to pick up on. The only really hard part was the in-between attacks and phase changing overlap. Once you got that overlap down, once you got the overlap of phase changing attacks down, I should say, once you got through all that, there wasn't really a hard part. And the last desperation attack was honestly easier than anything else in the fight. You just held up and down. I think about here, I don't want to say Queen Slime was harder because Queen Slime took less attempts, but dynamically speaking, Queen Slime had more stuff to do. This fight, not really. I didn't think it was that bad. So the first mech boss I fought was the twins. I think I made a mistake fighting the twins first, but not because they're the hardest, because the easiest was so easy. I'll say, in terms of difficulty spike, there was a huge one. All 3 mech bosses are very hard. In fact, if I could, I'd like push all these guys down and add 3 more tiers up here for future events, because I can already feel it. It's gonna get hard. I had a very hard time to dodge like every attack. Unlike a lot of fights that have filler attacks, I'll say, attacks that just dodge passively from running around, twins didn't feel that way. Every fight took some mental strain to think of how do I dodge this? Where do I go? How will this lead into the next fight? Or next attack? How will I make sure to phase change them? Which one should I kill first? I had a lot of things to think about. And that was also the cool part. I know I just complained about phase changing bosses being annoying, but this fight does it correctly to me. In between phases, they're not deadly. They stand still, they allow you time to breathe, but this leaves skill in which twin you attack first. Who do you want to turn into a mech first? Who do you want to break first to go into desperation phase? Who's your target? Like, all that was really cool. The super attacks towards the end where they spin and the individual phase was kind of mud. It was like a bit over the top. Having such extreme attacks just randomly out of the blue with no build up. I can't say I actually faulted that much because like what else are you supposed to do, right? But it definitely felt a bit jarring. As for which twin I broke, I tried killing the Retinazer super form a couple times and just kept dying. I just could not do it. It was so hard. So then I went to Spasmatism and nearly first tried it, honestly. Spasmatism was so much easier in the desperation phase. And saying easy doesn't mean it was easy. Overall, for difficulty, this was probably one of the hardest fights. Now, what's keeping it from this top tier was it didn't feel unfair. It felt very fair. It was Very skillful. If I made a mistake, I died. If I didn't, I lived. There wasn't a bunch of RNG to it, not like these two.